Hello everyone, it's Mr. Salimata over here, and in today's lesson we'll be looking at the first three laws of indices. And by the end of this lesson, every student should be able to recognize the first three laws of indices and know how to apply them. Yes? Okay, so let's get into today's lesson. Yes? Okay, so let's start by looking at this expression. Yeah? 2 to the power 3. Yes? So we have this expression right here. Yes? And if we look at our big whole number here, 2, this is the base. Yes? And our power 3 over there is the index. Yes? And the index tells us how many times a number or a variable multiplies itself. Okay? Okay, so now that we have learned about the index and the base, let's get into our first law of indices, which is the product law. Yes, so our first law is what? Product law. Yes, that's our first law. Yes, and this law states that when you are multiplying an expression with the same base, you have to keep its base and add their indices. Yes. Okay, let's put that into practice. Yes. Okay, so let's say we have b, yes, raised to m multiply b raised to n equal to. Yes. Now remember, we said that the product law states that when you are multiplying an expression with the same base, you have to keep the base and add their what? Their indices. Yes, so in our case we have to keep our base and add the what? Their indices. Yes, okay, let's put that into practice. Yes, so let's say we have x raised to the power 3, yes, multiplied by x raised to the power 2. Yeah, okay, so let's try to expand these two terms here. Yes, so we have x, yes, I'm expanding my first term here, multiplied by x, yes, multiplied by, now I want to what? To expand my second term over here, x multiplied by x. Yes, okay, so now let's count how many x's we have there. Yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Okay, so that gives us what? That gives us 5 raised to the power x, the power 5, sorry. Yes, now remember our x here, which is the variable, is what? Is the base, and our 5 over there is our what? Is our index, right? Okay, so now let's apply the product law with the same example over here. Yes, let's do it here. Yes, x raised to the power 3 multiplied by x raised to the power 2. And we know that our law, our product law, states that what? Same base, when you're multiplying what? An expression with the same base, you have to keep what? You have to keep the base and add their what? Their indices, right? So for us, it would be what? X 3 plus 2. Yes, and what does that give us? That gives us x to the power 5. Yes, there we go. Yes, so now we see how the product law works, right? Okay, so we used a variable to solve this expression. Now let's try to use whole numbers. Yes, okay, so let's say we have 2, yes, the power 2, yes, multiplied by, yes, that's multiplication, 2, yes, the power 6. Yes, so what then, if we have to simplify this expression, what will be the answer? If we're using the product law, we know that it has what? The same base, right? So we have to keep our base, which is 2, and then we have to add their what? Their indices there. So 2 plus 6, yes, 2 plus 6. What does that give us? That gives us 2 to the power 8. Okay, So this is the product law. Yes. Okay, now let's look at our second law of indices. Yeah. Okay, so our second law of indices is the quotient law. Yes. Quotient law. Yeah. So our second law of indices is quotient law. And this law states that when you are dividing an expression with the same base, you have to keep the base and subtract their indices. Yes. Let's put that into practice. Yeah. Okay. Let's visualize it. So we have our variable here b, yes, raised to m divided by b raised to n. Yes. Now, according to the quotient law, yes, when we are dividing an expression with the same base, we have to keep the base. Yes, we keep the base b. Yes, and what? And subtract their indices. Yes, so m minus n. Yes, are we together? Okay, so let's put this in practice. Yes, okay, so let's say we have x, yeah, raised to the power 6 divided by x raised to the power 2. Yeah, okay, let's try to expand our first term over there, or our upper term. Yes, yes, so that will be x, sorry, let me just write that clearly. That will be x, yes, multiplied by x, multiplied by x, multiplied by x, multiplied by x, multiplied by x. Yes, okay, divide by, yes, expand our bottom, our denominator there, which is x multiplied by x. Yes, okay, so now let's cancel. Yes, that x and this x goes, this x and this x goes. Yes, so how many x's do we remain with? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So our answer will be x, right, equal to, x raised to the power 4, right? Okay, that's fine, that's good. So now, yes, so now let's now use this quotient law formula right here. Yeah, okay, using the same expression. Yes, so we have x, yes, raised to the power 6 over x raised to the power 2. And remember, what do we have to do? We're dividing an expression with the same base, right? So we have to what? We just have to subtract the what? Their indices, right? So that would be x, yes, 6 minus 2, right? What does that give us? That gives us x, 6 minus 2 is 4, yes? So if you look at this answer here and this answer over there, they are the same, yes? So that's how we can apply what? The quotient law, right? Now, let's take an example with what? With numbers, yes? Okay, so let's take an example with numbers. Let's say 6, yes, raised, yes, 6 raised to the power 4 divided by 6 raised to the power 2, yes? So what does that give us? We're what? We're dividing an expression with the same base, so we have to keep the base 6, and then we have to what? We have to subtract their what? Their indices. So 4 minus 2, and that gives us what? 6. 4 minus 2 is 2. Yes, so if we had to simplify this expression over here, we have just simplified it. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at our last law of indices that we're doing today. Yeah, okay, so now let's take a look at our third law of indices, which is power of a power law. Yes, power of a power law. Okay, And this law states that if an indices expression is raised to another index, all what you have to do is multiply their indices. Yes? I'll repeat that. If an indices expression is raised to another index, all what you have to do is multiply their indices. Yes? So let's put that in practice so we can visualize it. Yes? Okay, so let's say we have our b over here raised to m. Yes? And also raised to n. Now, the power of a power law says we have to what? To multiply their indices. So that would be b raised to power m multiplied by n. Yeah? Okay, so let's deal with an example. Okay, so let's say we have x raised to power 2 and also raised to power 3. Yes? Okay, so that means we have x raised to power 2, yes, another x raised to power 2, another x raised to power 2, right? This is what it simply means. Yeah? Okay, so now let's expand them. Yes? So we have x, yes, my second term, another x, and my third term, another x. So now let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes? So that leaves us with what? With x raised to the power 6. Okay? Now let's use this same expression over here. Let's follow our power of a power law. Yes? So we have x raised to the power 2 and also raised to power 3. And what does it say? We have to what? To multiply their indices. Yes? So that would be x 2 multiplied by 3. And that gives us what? X power 6. Yes? Okay, so now let's try to use numbers. Yes, we used a variable here. So let's try to use numbers. Yes? So let's take this example. 2, yes, raised to 4, also raised to power 2. Yes? So according to the power of a power law, we know that the base is 2, yes? And 2 is raised to the what? To power 4, yes? And this whole is also raised to power 2, right? So we just have to multiply the what? The indices. So that would be 4 multiplied by 2. And that gives us what? 2 to the power 8. So if we're asked to simplify, this is how we solve it. Okay?